Hello everyone! Been a while since I made a video, and this time it's gonna be a little silly one, a little technical one, I guess, more of a demo, really. Where I'm gonna do a Castagne move any person speedrun. So that's not a real category, I mean, unless you wanna do some, but the concept here is I'm gonna create a move in Castagne. Whatever you know the move, I'm gonna take a simple one. Yeah. So this video is gonna be split in three parts. So the first one, I'm gonna just explain what we're gonna do. Then you're gonna see me. You can see the timer on the bottom of the screen, and then I'm gonna explain the steps. For real, like what did I actually do, because I can't really explain it while doing it. It's gonna be a bit tricky. So what do I mean by a Castagne move? So it's basically an attack. So and if you want to make an attack, you're gonna also need the assets. That's where we're starting from. We're gonna make all the assets for the move. We're gonna then import them into Godot, and then we're gonna program the move. So into Godot and Castagne. So the idea here is not to show like how exactly to set it up. The setup is already done. It's just to show you how it can work once you're set up, once you get into the mood. So I'm trying to stay as close to real condition as possible. So for instance, yesterday I went out with friends. I went to sleep a bit late, I have not been awake for super long, even though you can see the 11 clock. And I don't have the most energy, so that's pretty close to real conditions. The only difference here is that I'm gonna be having Krita on the main screen on top of on my drawing tablet, which will hide one window at one point, but not a bit of an issue. And the idea is just basically to show you how do I work to prototype moves. It's not final quality, it's just how we can get a simple move and get started. And this is my pipeline I use for prototyping. And so today we're gonna take we have this funky dude here, Mortimer, who's a zoner, but we're not gonna do a zoning move today. Projectiles a bit longer. We're gonna do a simple move so that he has something to do in close quarters. We're gonna give him a knife attack. Basically, just pretty simple. We have gonna have the dude just do a knife slash here. Somewhat like that. You get the idea. So that way he can actually threaten at close range and get out of pressure. That's gonna be his basic move. So and for that we're gonna see how I draw the asset for that, and then get into the Castagne pipeline. You can see the categories, and then program the move itself. Right. So there wasn't any rehearsal, so that's basically raw performance, and that's what I do usually. So, so let's. You can see I already set up the file to do that. So let's get started. So we're gonna do 3 frames. So first of all, I usually like starting with the attack frame. So he's gonna slice a bit from behind. Tag. You can make the move as simple as complicated as you want, but I usually think that for this one, simple is gonna be the way to go. I usually like doing the 3 frames because that's a startup active recovery. That's gonna be because it usually gives you the best idea of the attack while staying close to what's actually in game. Here, pivot the foot a bit, he's gonna hold the crossbow in the other hand, and he has the knife. Make it start a bit from here, so he takes it from his belt or something. Up, eraser, give him the hat. Yeah, timer started. Okay. Then let's do the startup. So this one I can stay a bit closer to this, so here. Move the foot a bit towards the camera. So it's already a bit in movement. Give him the knife, you know, on the belt, so it doesn't look weird. So, like, I have no idea how much time this takes overall. That's the first time I'm timing it, so we're gonna see what it looks like. We get some actual stats. Of course, not every move will be a simple 3-part one, but the other one, then, except if you want to see me go through the logic and all that, you know, that's another prospect entirely. I draw in the inside of the coat so that I understand what's going on. If you're in this place, it looks like it looks bad. That's not an issue. That we'll take the L for this one. And then didn't notice with the filigrane. Let's just keep it on the back. Respect that a bit more. You can refine the animation after, but this usually is pretty good for just a prototype. You know, you just see what's the idea, and see if you even want to keep the move before doing 3,000 hours in Blender. I could have made him go back. So yeah, okay, we have our moves. This one I'm doing on the other window. I'll show you just later, but I'm using the Krita export layer script. My window manager is set up so that it always appears on the second screen, so that's why I'm not showing it to you right now. But now I'm waiting for the layers to export. I'll show you the window just later. But yeah, split. No. It took my mouse where I was telling you split. Okay, so now I got it. Python tech starts preparing the next command. Come on, speed up. Okay, very good. Go back to Castagne, import. Okay, done. Let's get 2 more tumor. Go. Create. Oops, forgot the split again. Create the new state. Item. It's gonna be a thing. I call it knife, so it's paper knife. Let's do 3 frames here, 2 frames here. I'm gonna add some forward momentum to the move. The sprite should be there. Let's see. I see already. Okay, what's the distance? I'm not paying attention. Yeah, let's do a bit less distance on the move. Make it anti-air. Yeah, and that's here. Perfect. Let's add some forward momentum to the move. Reduce the recovery. Made a small mistake. Technically this is not obligatory, but let's go. Perfect. Damn. And done. 5 minutes. Okay. Good job. There's the speedrun. 5 minutes 34.01 centiseconds. Perfect. So, what did we actually do? It's time for the breakdown. So let's see what happened. So first of all, that's okay. So what happened in the drawing setup? So you've seen that I've got all of this here. So that's already set up for me. So the idea behind this pipeline is actually pretty simple. You know, basically I want to export quick drawings I make in Krita, because you know it's a lot faster than a 3D model. You know, especially going to prototype. You know, you just scrabbled on some things. I mean, if you do animation, you're probably going to do it anyway. You know, on the paper or something. So the idea here is that we want. I'm actually using the Krita export layer script. Each layer is gonna be a sprite, and I'm organizing stuff here on the side. So I don't know how clear that is here, but basically I've got a template I can create which has all of this imagery already embedded in, and with that I can start drawing my sprites, and I've got the basic movement already here. Basically, I've got some slots already done here for every movement state. So we got standing state, which is gonna be at sprite number 0, crouching state, sprite number 1, walk forward, walk backward, and the thing is that since they are in order, the pipeline will be able to automatically, you know, match them together. You know, when because if every standing sprite is gonna be the first one, well, I don't need to specify that sprite for every character. So that's one of the idea behind the template, is that my basic movement set and my basic reaction sets are already in. So, and then I can create new layer groups. Here it's called knife, for instance, for each one of my attacks to keep them organized. And then I create the sprites. By default it's called paint layer 28, 29, 30. It actually takes that later number to order them. And so I can create these moves. The transparency is then taken by I mean, it's still gonna export with the transparency, but that's where the pipeline comes from. So and with that I can just create a new document, and I just take the molten wind paper sprites, and you know, here got my colors on the bottom so that I can keep some consistency. I use the same brush every time with default parameters, so that way, you know, I can just start my day and start drawing, and we're good. Usually I use like this setup here is done with I color compared to type, so body is in red, windswept part are in purple, weapon is in blue, yellow is for effects, and green is for movement annotations. And with that I can create a new character easily, because I just then fill out those 20 sprites, and we're done. So that's a drawing setup, you know, and the idea is that, of course, I already told it during the speedrun, but startup, active, recovery, that's the frames you need, because if you don't have the startup, you don't know when the move's coming, it looks bad, it doesn't feel right, you know, because fighting games have a lot of kinesthetics inside of them. You can't really prototype with boxes. You can have to see the bit of a movement, but you don't need a model. You need the animation, like the basics of the animation, and having that startup, that slash, and then, you know, the follow through, it gives you a better idea of the movement you're actually expecting, and it shows you when the move's active, when it's not, you know, kinda gives you the idea of the states. So you could do without the last one. Like if I do it without the last one, you know, it feels, or it doesn't feel that good. You know, it works, but it doesn't feel that good, and I feel the extra effort is warranted. If you had only one sprite, you know, it looks stupid. I'm already starting to slash, and then he gets hit. Of course, you know, I'm not gonna do it without the active frame. That's the main one. Even if you have only one, you kind of need to have the one where the attack actually happens. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. So that's the drawing logic. Now is the more specific part. It's the asset pipeline. So let's actually explain what's going on. So what I do when I do this, do all of this stuff here, is that I actually go Krita and use the export layers button. So that one allows me then to export every layer. I choose the directory, don't forget to put PNG, and that's it. That's the step. I just wait for it, and it's good. And so that way it takes all my folders. So then you have move, you got react, you got knife. That's the attack we did, and each one of these has got several sprites. You got stand 0, crouch 1, and here it was paint layer 28, paint layer 29. So the export script will actually give me all of these layers separately. So and so from there I use my own script, my own Python script. What does the Python script do? It does a couple of things. It will take, first of all, it will gather all of these sprites. So not just the ones I made with this, which I call paper sprites, but also the ones I actually render from the 3D model. And so each folder, it will sort the sprites in order. So it's not the layer order that matters, but the name. And what it does is that it will take this stand part, and it will actually cut everything here. .png. It cuts everything. It just compares with the last part. So that means I can put whatever name I want here for for organization, and it will do that. And of course, when it's written, when I use the default name, which is paint layer, because I don't like using the keyboard, it just removes that. So I gotta be a bit careful with the numbers at times if I create the sprites in a weird order, but otherwise, pretty good, no issue. So each of these sprites, so I got my dude here, it's one sprite, then there's another one, another sprite, and these are separate. These are separate sprites So what the pipeline does is that it takes each one of these images, it computes. You've seen the cross. That's the origin point. It will put all the sprites around that origin point, and it will check the bounds. So this sprite, this bound, this sprite, this bound. If I got someone who's like this, it's gonna take these bounds and merge them all together and find the minimum size where all the sprites fit. Because the idea is that we will create a sprite sheet that's regularly spaced. So, however, when we use one of these paper sprites, which it recognizes because it's gonna be in the paper folder, as opposed to the auto render folder, which is where my 3D renders go, it will cut. It will take every sprite, which we have like this. Right. No, that can. I actually need a bit thicker to show what actually happens. So it takes whatever drawing I did, and what's gonna do here? Well, I'm gonna have to show a bit. By default, it's gonna use that. It's gonna be transparent, like so. So here's the background, to show what's happening, because white on white's not gonna show you much. So first of all, it removes the transparency of the layer, because since it exports with the transparency, and I don't want that, so I can stay lazy, and keep the references. You've seen I've kept the basic standing sprite, to keep the scale coherent, keep its references. So at this point, we have all these transparency behind, and we want to make the sprite clearer, otherwise we won't see anything. So what's going on is that first of all, it's actually gonna add expand the layer to add a white border around every pixel I drew. It's gonna look something like this. which is already better, like I understand what's going on, but everything behind that, I mean the characters doesn't have any presence. You're not gonna see behind. So, I mean you're still gonna see behind and it's gonna feel weird. So what the second step of the pipeline is that it will actually take that and fill the whole background. So I'm gonna use another color so that it's clearer. Yeah. So it's gonna fill the it's gonna fill the whole background, you know, with the color, and then it will use that white border we made to actually unfill the rest. So basically I'm just doing a fill algorithm, but because it's not available in the Python library I use, I cannot use only erode, but that's a technical detail. And so by using that, what happens is that all these parts in the middle get filled out, and I don't need to do it myself in the software, which saves me some time. And as you've seen in the breakdown, the whole run is 5 minutes. 4 of them were creating the sprites. So that's about a minute per sprite. If I did that, I would add another 30 seconds at least to each one, you know, which I mean might as well save you the trouble. Of course, the biggest time save is all of this. So with that, I've got all my sprites there getting remade, you know, processed and all, and then it takes all of that and it puts them in a sprite sheet. So I got all my dudes which are now done well in a regular space sprite sheet, which can go into Godot immediately. However, there's another step after that, which is that now that we have this the idea is that okay, we got our sprite sheet, we got so we can import it into Godot, but Castagne doesn't know what's going on. So the idea here is that usually what you do is that you go there, you go in the graphic settings, and then you create a new sprite sheet. You put the path of your that you have your sprite sheet in Godot. Actually, let me get one here so that I can do the So you get your sprite sheet here, and then you put all the values. Wait, really? Oh wait, I should have gotten. Yeah, this one's gonna be better. That'll be cooler. So you have your sprite sheet. It looks like this. I put the number of sprites. I put the origin. What's gonna be the origin? What? No. You know, you need to know where the sprite is, so you want to put it towards the feet. You need to put the correct 3D pixel size. You know, that's a lot of busy work. And the idea here is that since on my Krita file, if you remember, I've got this cross, and the file, each layer takes the whole screen, and it's all gonna be at the same place. So I can automate that. I can automate the origin. I mean, I can know the origin, and I can know how many sprites are in there because I just made the sprite sheet, so I know. So the idea is that since Castagne uses code behind that, is that I will take all these parameters which I know. So the origin, the name of the sprite sheet, because I use the folder name and add paper before if it's a paper sprite, and then I take the dimensions, and all of that just gets put into actually a CASP file. So incredible. So that means that every one of these sprites gets all of it set up, already done and ready to be used in Castagne. So that's great. You can actually see the file here. You see auto sprite sheets. You see that's where we got them. So for instance, a movement sprite sheet here. Why does it have that much space behind it? I don't know. Probably a small bug or a stray pixel or whatever. Not really an issue. knife, the one we just did. There we go. I mean, it's already in. It already knows that with the cut, it knows exactly where to put the sprite. It knows how many there are. I mean, I usually do multiples of 5 here. It already knows where it's gonna be in the assets folder. That's actually the last script, because all of that for now has been this script, assemble spritesheets.python. This, the create symlink script, doesn't actually create a symlink, if you know what that is. It just copies the files. So I've got my asset. I forgot to show them. I got my assets here with you know the Blender files, the Krita files, whatever, which exports the sprites. But a lot of this you don't really want in the engine, because otherwise Godot's gonna try to import them, which gonna make you lose time, because every one of these sprites is an independent image, and you know, I mean, better form, I guess. I mean, it's not like I have 3D models in my in this game. I mean, for the characters. So what the script does is that it goes into the Godot folder and assets, and it just takes the ones I want and just puts them in the correct position. That's what the script does. And that's why when I go to Godot, the step, it was a bit quick, but I went back here because you need to go to the editor. That showed a window for a split second. That's when I try to import the knife thing. Then I press F5. F5 will start the editor again. And now I've got my sprite sheets loaded in. We can go on the last part, which is the attack programming. So for that, I'm actually gonna show the code in a bit of a bigger picture. So you've seen when I started, I create the new state. You can use the templates. I've got some templates for Molten Winds, specifically for the 3 types of attack: magic attack, physical attacks, and despair attacks, which helps me with the thing. So this one's a magic attack, which means it's a special. That's my cute name for it. So I've got it here in my list. I'm gonna take the little screenshot so that we can analyze that together, because code on the screen is gonna be a bit tricky to follow. Now we're actually explaining what I did. So let's go here. Yeah, that's gonna be easy to follow. So what does any of that do? So because yeah, it should be easy to see. Okay, so let's break it down. This part, you can ignore that part. That's just some comments, which is actually like, I do some basic comments, and you can see they all have this to do inside of them after the double comment, which means that it gets picked up by the editor. So you can see the first line here, to do design description objectif. It's actually in French. It's actually this first line. The first line that you write with double comments, so the double dièse, I forgot the name. It's actually gonna get shown on this screen. So great. And every one of those to-dos has actually been done and creates these flags, these states flags, which I can then filter in the editor. So for instance, if I'm like, okay, what attack still needs to have its sound done? I click here and it filters out all the ones where it's not needed. It's easier to see on a character that's more realized, you know, as there, for instance. You know, you see there's a lot of them because it's all prototype itself, but here I've got a lot of internal stuff. If I just look at, okay, what do I need to design still? Oh, there's a lot less moves already. If I want to see what's an attack, I can also do that. I can find also the lows. Apparently it has only one low. But yeah, that's one of Castagne's features. It's already in your thing. So because it's not exactly vanilla Castagne, but it's very close to vanilla. Like, I'm gonna showcase every difference. So, but yeah, this is in vanilla Castagne. this is gonna be my header for the attack. Okay, so this is just organization. So the category line, the category here just allows me to resort my attacks. By default it goes into attacks magic because it's a magic attack. This is the important line. That's the one that actually has some meaning. But yeah, so that's for the, so it does here. But if I want, because I often have a lot of multi-part moves, and if I want to get them together, I can use like the prefix like 8M variation A, 8M variation 2. But I can also create a category and have them together. So that's to go a bit easier. So you can do that in your own templates, to help you, to have all of that by default. This is some flags because, in my magic system, some magic attacks have a costs or not. There's different slots for which one you're actually using, and if it's an upgrade or an alternative move, that's a bit of very Molten Wind specific stuff. And these flags are actually, when I go into it and use an attack that has all of these, it actually reminds me that I didn't finish the detail. You can see here and below it says, is the magic attack free or not? That's the first flag. What's the slot? The second flag. And what is the upgrade or alternative move? So if I just change these, it's not free magic, it's a slot and it's the upgrade, and I do that again, now it doesn't say anything, but it's not linked properly to Molten Wind specific level up and skill points upgrade mechanics, all of that, and mana. Now you can see it uses mana. Anyway, very specific. This is the attack parameters. So what do I got? I got the attack damage, didn't change it. It's the default one. That's why I've still got the frame data damage here to remind me to change it later. There's some default momentum. You can change it if you want. Because I know you can't block in the air in this game, and you can't really go in the air in this game. I know that I don't really need all of the rest. So that's my attack momentum on hit. So the first two numbers are on the ground, the second ones are in the air. So it's got some sensible values, allows for a bit of a juggle. And the block is just on the ground, how much I want to be pushed back. Attack frame advantage, self-explanatory. And there's the actual part. So that's the actual move code. It's got an S branch with the 80k inside for attack. So that means this whole sequential branch is gonna be my attack. I could do that by specifying each frame manually, but I kinda like using this. So on the first frame, for the first 3 frames, I show the first sprite. So you see, I use paper knife, that's the name of the sprite sheet, if you remember. 0, that's the first sprite. Okay, so for the first 3 frames, it tries to show it every frame. For the next 2 frames, it's actually gonna move forward. It still shows the sprite until I actually change it, so I don't need to put it back. So, and here it moves for 2400 forward. I cannot put the number randomly, that's where you want to adjust stuff. I just put it where my instinct said it would be. But yeah. By the way, this is, you can see the function name here is MW, Molten Wind Sprite. It's the exact same as the regular sprite. That's just so I can use the other Molten Wind Sprite helpers without typing the MW before. But yeah. So here, 3 frames, then 2 frames. So that's 5 frames. So this is where we're actually gonna attack. So that means this attack, it's on the 6th frame, which is important because that means it's gonna be his fastest attack. So I show the second sprite. They start at 0, so that's why I use the 1. And you can see I don't need to specify the sprite sheet again, because, well, I already did. It's just the same sprite sheet. Then I put the hitbox. So this one's actually a bit of a Molten Wind special, because you can see here I've got these. Molten Winds has some very height-based hitbox interactions, where I got my bottom, middle, top, and air hitboxes, which correspond to that somewhat. And a standing character is gonna have a bottom, middle, top hitbox, while a crouching one's not gonna have this top hitbox, and they won't have it in the air. So, what means that does double duty. First of all, that's gonna be my hitbox to attack people, so that's gonna be easier. And then, that means that I can make, low evading moves and stuff using just the hitboxes, which is nice. And in this case, that means that I can hit someone out of the air. I can hit them on the, when they are standing or crouching, but if they're using a low evading move, I can't hit them. So that's so if someone slides down, I can't hit them with that attack. But yeah, not just something to keep in mind. What it allows me to save is that, well, I've got some of these helpers which have some back compatibility in the code, but that also means that because I know my hitbox is going to be only horizontal, I can just specify one number, which is going to be the 1600 here. I can make, if I specify two numbers, it's going to also go back. But and here the MTA is for bottom, middle, top, air, and I just write the ones I want. I can put several hitboxes, to have something more specific, but whatever. Then I continue the move, so that's still going forward. So that means I can actually meet here between this attack, but probably not gonna do that most of the time. Then for the next 3 sprites, I keep showing the same sprite because I don't change it, and I move a bit slower, and I don't have the hitbox anymore. That means I can only hit on the first 3 frames, and then it slides a bit with the knife out, which helps give some sense of physicality, and helps to keep for visibility, it helps to keep the attack in on the screen longer. If I didn't and just skipped this part, what's gonna happen is that it goes very fast, and just like, well, I guess here it kinda works because it's step, but if I let it back in, it feels a bit smoother. Technically that wasn't needed for the speedrun, nor was the move needed, but I kinda want one that feels proper, to show what, that's what I do. I usually want you want to iterate on the feel, so that's why I keep it that way. And final one, that's just the recovery period here, where I show the last sprite for 16 frames, and it computes, it says, okay, well, that's 3 frames plus 2 frames plus 3 frames plus 3 frames plus, which one? Oh, it's under there, 16 I think. 3 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 16. I swear I'm good at math, but I'm not good at mental math. That's gonna be 9, 11 plus 16, 27 frames. Okay, so that's a 27 frame move that has that will hit on frame 6. And so that's why, and with the frame advantage of 4 and -2 on hit and block respectively, that means that since Castagne knows the attack length, it knows the frame, it knows the frame advantage we want and the frame it might hit on. That means we'll automatically put the hit stun properly, which is gonna be in that case 27 -6 plus 4 or -2, so 21 plus 4, 25 of hit stun and 19 of block stun. So I don't need to manually adjust these. It's just done for me. And with all of that, we made a full Castagne move and spent, I don't know, I don't have the timer, I don't remember when I started, but probably 4 times as long just explaining what just went by. So as you can see, Castagne's design was really made to be efficient, but sometimes that efficiency, you kind of need to know how to assemble the blocks, which is why I did this funny little video. You can probably do better than me if you try to speedrun that. There's some time saves, but yeah, it's mostly gonna be, fighting game development is a lot of graphics. You can't prototype without some graphics of some kind. You can't, that's why a lot of people actually do start with the final graphics, which is not really good for prototyping, because you spend forever. You don't even know if you like the move. There's several moves I trashed because I thought that was a good idea, but in the end wasn't that fun, and found some other ones, and And at this point, you know, for instance, my guy like here, Mortimer, like I don't really know what I want to do with him exactly. Like I know some of the lore, I know some of the idea. He's a zoner. He has this cool crossbow. You know, he's a bit old-fashioned, I guess, in some ways. Oh, he hunts criminal, but his family was a family of hunters at first. But you know, with the modern world, it kind of changed. So you know, I kind of want to give him a trap or something. You know, like a bear trap or whatever. You know, but I kind of still, you know, iterating. What exactly is he gonna do? Because is he just gonna shoot? Yeah. Do I put a cool mechanic where he has to cock the crossbow? You know, there's plenty to see. And for instance, here I gave him his fast attack. I gave it to him on his special slot. So that means he can't actually do anything after that. He can just, you know, stop the guy and say, okay, it's my turn now. But he can't do anything more with that. But that means I can use some physical attacks to that. And while making the move, I had the idea, wait, if the crossbow, if the crossbow's a bit more fun, you know, maybe it can be a combination, crossbow pistol or something. That way he can maybe add some, he has this big bolt he can shoot that does big damage, you know, all of that. But maybe he can use a small caliber pistol inside of the crossbow outside. I'm gonna see what works well with the design. To get some distance, maybe do a low shot and then cancel into the big projectile. And that, if I had already made the 3D model, that's gonna be annoying to refix. Here it's just a drawing. I don't even need to change anything. Like it doesn't even need to have the pistol or knife out, except when I actually need it. You know, so that's why it's you kind of want a prototyping pipeline that works. That's the one that worked for me. It's still, I mean, I've been using it for only a small while, you know, had the idea. It's not that long to program when you know what you're doing. You know, a couple hours and you're done forever and save. And you save like, hours, like literally hours with that. But once you're in Castagne, you know, that's where the fun begins and you can create the moves. And that's why you can make like Aster. The whole character of Aster was made in 2 to 3 days. And he's got, right, the other one's not gonna have any animations. Let's use another one. But Aster's gonna have has a lot of attacks. So you know, here he has, because I was able to program the level up system with him, you know, all of his special moves. He has this. If I upgrade it, it does this. If I upgrade it and I'm high level enough, I can do all of that after it, you know. I got the mechanics working, command grab. You know, that way I can create a lot of moves and try to see where the fun is in my character. He had a lunge move, for instance. The lunge wasn't very fun. And he had a slide here instead of this one. Now the slide is actually a separate move, you know. And that kind of works because, you know, because as a normal it was okay, you know, can I say switch a bit too easily. As a special, I mean, it works better than the lunge because it was a bit uninspired. So I can keep my my better attack here, which is a cool slash, and I can get a similar poke from afar move with the slide. I can also give it the follow up, which is always cool, or go beyond it with another dive, and that complements well his other move with the jump. Of course, all of this is quite a few states, which is why I talked about you know, categorize them. You know, the lunge still here is still called 5M. It's not called anymore, but you know, it still exists. I could put it back in my here. No, that's not the correct one. Black magic normal. 5M. So now he's gonna that. You know, here can not the best move of all time. Oh wait, that's the place. You know, not the coolest move of all time. You know, yeah. I prefer this one. You know, already feels a bit better even in the bad version because you don't have your system mechanics yet. But yeah, this allows you to iterate quickly, and that's what Castagne is all about how to create your fight game efficiently. And that means it's not just the technical part, you also need to snowball on the graphics part and create your own pipeline that works for your ends. And then Castagne has a lot of small design decisions that help you prop up whatever you do and do it a lot quicker. That way you can find the fun in your game a lot faster. But yeah, thank you for seeing this disguised demo. Maybe in a while I'll do an updated speedrun and see if I improved my drawing speed. But yeah, see you around and have a nice day. Bye.